Hey, we're CarpOs Collective.
I'm Julia.
I'm Shirley.
I'm Joyce, and you're listening to the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book creators and supporters. It's November 19th, 2020. I'm John Swinimer. If you have a comment, criticism, or question, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with CarpOs Collective about WhitCAF 2020. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. And don't forget to check out the new YouTube channel. Hosted by the Whitby Library in Whitby, Ontario, the annual Comic Arts Festival celebrates comic book creators and makers in a variety of fun and entertaining activities, including exhibits, panels, readings, artist alley, contests, and more. CarpOs Collective is a Toronto-based art collective, initiated in 2017 by Shirls, Julia, and Joyce. They share a love of creating art and stories and showcase paintings, sculptures, illustrations, zines, and a variety of merchandise. They are proud of their diverse and unique members who all come from varying backgrounds, beliefs, and worldviews. They aim to create a healthy space for open conversation with the work amongst their respective communities and celebrate the narrative of these differences working together. So, without further ado, here's my chat with CarpOs Collective about WhitCAF 2020.
So, CarpOs Collective, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Hi.
Hi.
No problem.
I appreciate your time. Maybe to help start this off, you could each introduce yourself and then maybe talk a little bit about what CarpOs Collective means to you.
So I'm Julia Louise Pereira. I am a illustrator and artist. I had a writing class with these two lovely ladies over here, and we ended up being like the only ones to like hang out after class, like as like a little group. And so through that process of just like meeting up, writing together, creating things together, we're like, oh, we should do this more often. We should do this like officially in some kind of official capacity. So we created CarpOs Collective a couple years ago. Now I have terrible memory, so I don't know how many years it's been, but so now we have like a little shop together. We make stuff together. We have some projects, some really cool projects in the works. One is the one that's most recent that we're working on is, I would say about 80% done. No, maybe more like 50% done. We still got to edit it and everything, but we can talk about that later.
Hi, my name is Shirley Shuning Wang, and like Julia said, we all met in writing class, and Julia's the illustrator, and I am a painter, and so since our mutual hobbies, writing, that's the main thing that we surrounded our collective with. Originally this collective was mainly to just get together and sort of egg each other on and in our individual projects. And it wasn't until quite a little ways down the road that we realized that, we could really like equally collaborate and do something together, which is what we started doing around 2019. We officially branded ourselves and went forward with that. So this collective is really like just something like a really huge step for me personally, because they're great people to work with and really amazing artists, and they inspire me every day that we hang out and work together. So it's really propelled, like my own perspective in art as well as my own creativity, thanks to these ladies. So I'm super grateful for them. Yeah.
Aww. Shirls. Aw, shucks.
Okay, well, now it's your turn, Joyce.
Hi, I'm Joyce Jody Kim. I'm a Korean-Canadian wearables sculptor. I like to make little sculptures that you can actually wear on your body, and I do like to write as well. One really cool thing about our collective is that all three of us are from very different backgrounds, very different belief systems, and kind of very different personalities as well. The one thing that unites us is our love for making things with our hands and how that fuels us. And so that's why our name is CarpOs Collective, because one of the cool cactuses we found when we were researching for a name was the Ariocarpus cactus. And carpus also, like the word has the root word of like the bones in the hand. And so being able to thrive off of not much more than just making works with our hands. And also the flower blooms in 3 different colors, like us coming from like 3 different backgrounds. That's kind of what our name means. And one thing that we found interesting about collaborating together was that because we're so different, but we all love literature and art, a lot of our communities that like the audience that gathers whenever we do like launches and stuff, they are all very different demographics, and they would have never met unless, well, maybe they would have met, but it's kind of through our art collective that we're like forcing our communities to like have open conversation and unite and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That is great. Good stuff. Yeah. So I'm wondering, what's your newest projects that you're promoting right now?
It is Joyce's brain baby, so I'm going to let her introduce this one, and then we can elaborate.
Joyce has to take the starter off of this one because it's really because of her.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's her treasure.
It's a children's picture book called The Story of Onion, and it's a story about this little onion boy who finds out, like, he starts accumulating layers whenever he goes through a hardship, and then he starts questioning why he has these layers, and he discovers that on like a path of, I guess, self-awareness and learning about himself. And then he finally, at the end of the book, finds out why he has these layers and how he can help people with his own layers. And so the whole process of making the book was easy because I'm used to working alone, but this started when I didn't know how to collaborate. So it's actually a really cool story because I was so unwilling to, like, I said I wanted to collaborate with these girls, but then I was like, no, this is my baby, and then I wanted it all to go my way. And it was actually working on this book with them that I actually learned how to open up myself to collaborations.
What advice you might give for someone who wants to make things?
One thing is get over yourself and collaborate, because I really, really struggled with that. I'm a control freak, perfectionist, and all the artist isms that you could possibly imagine. And meeting such beautiful, talented, powerful women like my friends here, Julia and Shirley, like, I realized that not only can I create... Oh, I'm getting really cheesy now. How can I phrase this in a less cheesy way? So this storybook that I thought I could, just do by myself, when I actually brought it to the table, they made me realize how much bigger it was. And thanks to meeting like such a talented artist like Julia, like, she can tell like 50% or more of the story that I wouldn't be able to portray through words. So like with my limited resources and their limited resources, like when we combine it, it's so much easier. And because we all have day jobs, it's so much easier to like split up the workload and the creative load. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, I find like bounce off of other people. Like, that's like just like so invaluable to me, is like being able to be like, hey, like, can you guys look at these sketches? Like, what do you think? And mostly like they're like, oh, it looks great, and then I'm like, no, it's ugly. I have to start from scratch. Like, I've redone so many pages, but just like having like that support and like having like another critical eye is super helpful. Yeah, I'm kind of like excited to see where Shirley takes it after I'm finished illustrating it, because Joyce wrote the book and I'm drawing it, I'm illustrating it, and then Shirley's gonna edit the crap out of it. So I'm curious to see like how she like designs like the
final product.
The final product, yeah, because this is out of my hands.
Yeah, so this project has gone through several phases and definitely has evolved since 2018, and we've all learned so much on just timelines and give and takes, and understanding each other's work habits was a big one. Yes, like, we are all such different people, and honestly sometimes you would think that that would just turn into ash ultimately, because we would just butt heads till the end, but we were really able to come through that and communicate properly and figure out how best to work around each other's habits and, be kind to each other about the things that are different and communicate and persist, with this project despite our differences. And honestly, it is now turning into something that we're all really, really, really proud of. And we can't wait to see the final product and to see people actually have it in their hands, reading it to their children. Yeah, so we're really close. A lot of the art has been finished by Julia already, and we're just kind of in sort of the editing and production is about to happen. It's come a long way in the last 2 years or so, and we're just super psyched to see this completely follow through finally.
Mm.
That's cool. I can sense the excitement from what you're saying, and the sort of the collaboration.
Mhm.
That's quite unique in this industry to find people who can share your ideas and not be afraid to receive criticism. I think
so
that's
true.
very critical for success. So
Mhm.
that's good on you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think after although we all went to the same art school, I think we've just learned to appreciate criticism, because then how are you going to get better? I guess I would say to people who are kind of just starting out, or they're afraid to show other people. I'm like, no, show it to other people, and if they say it's trash, take that in, take that in and be like, yeah, this could be totally improved. You can only go up, you can only get better. So
Yeah,
try
and
not to hang up on the negatives,
and on that note, to follow, it's not, you don't have to take in every single person's opinion, but also definitely just stay open and stay open to criticism, stay open to everyone's opinions. You don't have to change your final product because of what other people said, but if you're open to it, maybe something new would actually manifest from that. And I think that was the beautiful thing from a collaboration that we realized. Once we're all really open to each other's criticism, we realized, oh, we could actually improve upon the basic foundations of our creative ideas.
Maybe we could take a step back and talk about the role that you think perhaps libraries and library events like WhitCAF play in fostering a community of creators or makers.
Oh man, as a as a thin-haired socialist, I truly value the library system and how they're so community based, and how they always want to engage with the public. I find often commodified spaces that are just purely for privatized, not public. It's kind of like a club, and you kind of have to be either wealthy to get in, or you have to be in a certain crowd. But libraries are kind of open for everybody, whether they're artists or not artists or whatever, just someone for a new, but it's very open to everybody. It's very accessible, and I think I appreciate that the most, because art is made for everybody. I feel I hate that stupid elitism that happens.
Yes.
It's art is only for certain people. Oh, if you walk into the AGO and you don't understand a painting, oh, you don't understand. Oh, the historical content. Nah, that's dumb. People can interpret things however they want. Art is made for everybody. Art is not made for just the historians or just the the high class,
Yeah.
And I feel libraries are really filling this crucial area where you're connecting with the public who are deserving to see and experience art, and the artists,
Here,
bridging
here.
the gap. Bridging the gap, I really appreciate that.
Cool. Well, speaking of that, do you have any favorite memories from past library events that you can share?
This is Joyce. I think I really enjoy the whole, that's where I get to meet people like us. And that's where you find people who think like you, who can visually represent themselves like you do, and people with the same hunger, people with the same craving for visual aesthetics, and also people who are just trying to make a living with their drawings and doodles. One thing actually, I don't know if this is directly related to the subject, but something really beautiful about comic arts festivals is I actually went to a local bookstore. You might know it, Doug Miller's bookstore in Toronto. It's a very small, hole in the wall like local business, and he's been there like for a while now, but ever since COVID, like things have been really hard with all those small businesses. He was saying that he actually like Comic Arts Festival saved his life because he had saved up like a couple $1,000s just to spend it at like to support local artists and to buy art at these like art festivals. But because they all closed down, he had that a few $1,000s to survive during COVID as a small business owner. And I'm sure that that's the case for a lot of artists. And so that's really beautiful how just having the security of knowing that there will be platforms like libraries and library tabling events is huge. Like as small like emerging creators, we can't afford anything beyond that. Like that is our marketplace. That is where we go and meet other collaborators. That is where we go and sell most of our stuff. Like we live for that. And so it's like a little pop-up city, like a pop-up downtown once a year. Yeah.
I just wanted to add on this, Shirley, by the way, the different events that are held in libraries. The main one that, like aside from things like WhitCAF and comic book festivals, I also love that they do, there's tea festivals, and I used to teach paint night, which, so there's a lot, sometimes library would invite me over to do like private sessions. It's kind of crazy the amount of things that libraries can host due to their accessibility and their location. Like it's just a really wonderful space that they are able to transform and continue to adapt to something that, to the new generations that maybe can get all their information and all their books online, and to the consumerable market that loves to buy stuff, but instead libraries have been able to stay open and stay functioning due to these kind of events and festivals, and I'm really grateful that they do exist to bring the community together.
Great. Good stuff. You've talked about your upcoming project, the children's book, but I'm wondering, do you have any other future projects that you can talk about?
Well, I'm kind of halfway. I wrote a book. I wrote like a kid's book, like 9 to 12 sort of thing. But I was speaking to an editor for a kids publishing house, and she suggested that I turn it into a graphic novel.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I told you guys
That's
this.
so much work for you.
I know, it's so much work.
It's a lot of work.
Especially like in the comics industry, I feel like readers don't understand how much work it is to make a comic, like make a graphic novel. It is so much work. Oh God. Instead of doing one big picture, like for example, for like our children's books, I'm like painting like one painting, right? No. You gotta have 7 paintings or 7 little drawings on one piece of paper, and then you gotta do that like 80 times. And you gotta make sure that all of those little tiny paintings all look good together as one image, Like, it's so much effort, but I feel like that's what I'm probably gonna be working on the next year, is working on that big thing. And I'm definitely gonna be asking for advice from these two guys. Because it's gonna be a long time.
Joyce here. Joyce here. I also have a book in the works, mostly done, just need to edit it and waiting on my illustrator. It's a Korean fairy tale, but I mean not in Korean, but Korean protagonist, Korean motifs, but in English, which is basically who I am. And hopefully I will be making wearable sculptures based around that as well. And my old book is actually coming off the shelves, and I'm making wearable sculptures for that as well. Yeah.
Very good. So where can people find out about these and other projects online? Do you have a social media presence, a website that people can refer to?
Our website is CarpOsCollective.com, but Joyce runs all our social platforms, and from there you can also find our individual platforms as well. Since COVID has really kind of halted our ability to work together more often. But yeah, Joyce, please go ahead and explain the social media side of things.
Okay, yeah. As Shirley said, we're at www.carpuscollective.com, and on Instagram, we're CarpOs Collective. And I organized it in a way where all of Shirley's works are on the right row, my works are in the middle row, and Julia's works are on the left row. So it's easy for the user to find our works. And we post about collaborations we do, shows we do, and call for submissions as well sometimes.
Yeah, and community events if we're ever able to do them again.
Yeah, and we sell
in person,
wearable art, prints, screen prints, pins, ceramic pins, all that kind of stuff on our website.
Yeah. We have quite an eclectic product line. Yeah.
We're trying to. We have like a few zines. I don't think that they're up yet, or if they are.
I think the only one that's up is my watermelon zine.
Yeah, I have to post
That's
more.
a cute
I
one.
have to put up some comment. But I think hopefully in this next year, because I do want to get more into comics, I started doing the Toronto Comic Jam online. It's where like a bunch of like Toronto-based comic artists meet up every Tuesday, and we make comics together. And I'm having a blast. Like the guys are so funny, and I kind of want to like hook these two girls in who are not really comic book people, but I'm trying to hook them in, and hopefully they'll come to a comic jam, and then we can make some comics together. Because right now I think we kind of do like I do comics on the side, but then we mostly do like kind of like zines or those kinds of things, like less comic-y, more zine-y.
Yeah, more print-based, like just individual prints. Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and hook them in and get them to do some comics with me.
Sounds good. Well, those are all the questions I have, but I'm wondering if there's something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview.
I guess I would just like to say, like, to people who are kind of like just starting out or want to make art, don't be kind of like confined to like getting the fanciest paint or getting like the most expensive. I mean, I buy the most expensive stuff because I am pushy as hell and I have no money in my bank account because it goes all to art supplies because I am a fiend. But I do appreciate, and I'm trying to learn more from Joyce about how to like DIY things, make stuff from paper mache, like do things like we're gonna make our own paper for the final children's book. We're gonna do some like maybe like some handmade covers and stuff. So you know, you don't have to be like rich, or you don't have to, you know, have like a crazy education to make art. You know, you can make art, comics, you know, wearables, like all this stuff from like found stuff just laying around your house. Joyce can probably speak more a little bit to that, but I think we're trying to like really foster like a sustainable, like accessible art practice between the three of us. And I think like just like to people who are listening, like, you know, don't worry about getting like, you know, the $40 paint tube from, you know, whatever. You don't necessarily need it to make something cool.
Yeah, and honestly, sustainability is huge in our collective. It is kind of what we do everything around, and it's also a personal passion of mine to try my best to live a more sustainable life and to practice better sustainability just to help this planet, you know, survive while we're still here, and not have it just kick us off and eliminate us entirely. So yeah, to me, in this consumerism world that we live in now, especially with COVID, we're all ordering products online and we're all doing these things. It's really important to stay on top of the sustainability so that we're, you know, not destroying ourselves. And art can speak so much to that in the way, in the content that we make, as well as how we make it, what we make it with, and how we package it, how we ship it. Like all of those things all tied together, you know, can gear towards a more sustainable future. And that is really important to us as a collective.
Yeah, and one thing I really want to point out is we don't like it just as an aesthetic. It's almost a necessity. Just for me personally, growing up, I didn't have access to a lot of the materials and education for like the arts. And I just know my mom used to bring me up while making furniture out of paper mache and making things that we need out of what we had at home using scraps. And that really taught me how to survive till now and made me able to keep making art. And I find that that's true for a lot of young artists these days, like especially when art school and a lot of systemic places are saying you have to use the best of whatever. I think it's so beautiful because when you're using the things around you that you have readily available, even if it's just sticks and stones, it actually tells a more literal and unique story than if you were to use those store-bought products. I am not condemning buying cheap products, especially if you're not privileged enough to buy more sustainable products. But I'm saying when you're creating, like thinking about using things around you that you already have, like in your little own personal ecosystem, is a good idea.
Thanks to Shirls, Julia, and Joyce for the chat. You can discover more about CarpOs Collective on Instagram at instagram.com/CarpOs Collective. That's CarpOs Collective. And online at carposcollective.com. And you can discover more about WhitCAF 2020 at whitbylibrary.ca/WhitCAF. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube, so please like and subscribe to that video channel. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2020.